What is up, guys? So I decided to do a little comparison with the shocking moments with the shocking moment in The Walking Dead and that shocking moment in Game of Thrones. And on and the characters on these topics are obviously Glenn and Jon Snow. Now, I'm just gonna compare the two and decide which one I consider more shocking, which one's more tragic, which one I thought was held out more to me. For my personal opinion. Now, in Game of Thrones, Jon Snow was set up by by his own people. And they said that somebody came to see him, they and then they um, and then they all led him into a trap, just to be butchered, by every single member, in his army. And they kept saying for the watch, 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 and then and then that kid, what's his name, Oliver, gives him the one final stab, and they just leave him to die, and he lays there, and then we see him bleed out. Now with Glenn, in that recent episode of The Walking Dead, him and Nicholas are trying to get away from a herd, and then they're just ambushed. I mean, there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to run, and they get on top of this dumpster. Nicholas is having a panic attack, and then he looks over at Glenn. Gwen's shaking him and trying to get him back to his senses, and then Nicholas looks at him, and then he says thank you, and then he takes his own life, and then Nicholas's dead body, like that's dead weight, literally, that knocks himself along with Glenn off the dumpster, and then Nicholas's dead body falls on top of him. I mean, we see that as they're falling off the dumpster, and and as you can tell in one shot, as you see somebody's body being devoured, and it looks and they're trying to make it look as if it was Gwen's, but Gwen is screaming in agony, thinking, okay, this is it, this is it for me to go. I mean, and you see intestines and stuff being ripped out and ripped out and ripped out, and before we can actually see them kill Gwen, the walkers are piling over, sort of reaching over each other. You don't even really see Gwen die, but it's still, people forget that Nicholas's body fell down with him, and it's so tragic to watch, and it's so shocking, and it's horrific, and and both of these characters are put in a position where they can come back because when they're being interviewed, like when they're talking about it, they're not confirming or denying that these characters are actually dead. They're just beating around the bush, like about it, like, no, we can't talk too much about that, and and most likely that means that both characters are set to come back, or they're set to, like, they still have roles to play, like their story has not been concluded yet, and I feel that between those two, Jon Snow definitely was killed, because you saw him being stabbed, and then when his body finally fell over, you saw him bleed out. You saw his blood. You saw him bleeding out. His blood is everywhere. So that's confirmation right there that he definitely did die at that moment. And Gwen, you don't really see him die. I mean, you basically see Nicholas's body. I don't care what anyone says. You see Nicholas's body being ripped to shreds, and then they're trying to make it look as if it was Gwen, and then before they can actually get to him, I mean, they cut to another shot an a, a high angle shot of the walkers, reaching everywhere. Like you just see a herd everywhere, and then you don't even really see, Gwen being killed. And conveniently, Gwen is like this close to the dumpster, right here. He can easily roll underneath there, and I don't know, possibly find a manhole or something. I mean, I'm sure some people probably came up with that theory. I mean, I'm sure some people probably came up with that theory, but I mean, that's what I'm guessing. Now that can be like one of the most I mean, like and that's how I can see him possibly coming back. And but still, that was, I mean, that alone, like that, watching that happen, before I can gather my thoughts on, on whether he survived or not. I mean, like at first when I watched that scene, I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's a goner. I mean, like he's definitely a goner. I mean, like that's what I was thinking to myself, like, holy shit, they're really killing him. And that's before I came back into my senses. And I think I like me personally. I think Gwen's potential supposed death was more shocking and more horrific. And I mean, I'm a fan of both shows, and Jon Snow's death. If I haven't seen if I didn't if I haven't seen it, if I saw it right there and then there when it aired, when that season finale aired, then I probably would have been more shocked than I was. Um, I mean, they're both very lovable characters, and with, they both been with, like Jon Snow's been with Game of Thrones since season one, and Gwen's been with The Walking Dead since season one, and I mean, there's a lot, a lot of common ground there on, like with those two characters. With that being said, and you know, they're they they're both very, they're both, fan favorites, and both fans of both shows were very devastated when that happened, and and the creators of both shows are beating around the bush about their deaths. I mean, they're basically shining a light of hope on, on both parties. And I just felt like, I needed to compare these, two, two, I guess, two jaw dropping moments in both hit shows. And I can't really say which I think was done better, because they were both done really great. Um, but I can say that Gwen, the Walking Dead moment shocked me the most, because I didn't expect that to happen. I mean, I didn't expect, the Game of Thrones moment to happen either, but this really made my jaw hit the floor. That made me go like, holy shit, with Jon Snow was like, well, shit, that was unexpected, but it didn't shock me as much as, Gwen's supposed death. So I'm gonna lean more towards I think I may be biased and lean more towards Walking Dead, and say that they did a pretty good job making my jaw hit the floor and pissing me off and making me, blow things out of proportion until I came back into my senses, and like, you know what? Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, like, in this, so on and so forth, So, why don't you leave your comments and let me know which death you thought was more shocking, which death shocked you the most, and which death horrified you the most, or which shocking moment, not which death, but which shocking moment horrified you the most out of those two. Leave leave me a leave me yeah, see. Yeah, leave your comments down below and let me know what you thought. I mean, like, do you agree with me, or do you think Jon Snow's that shocking Game of Thrones moment was more of a jaw dropper for you? If you liked my little comparison and my thoughts, thumb up the video, share it, subscribe to my channel for more awesome videos to come. Till next time, Nerdy Boy signing out. Peace out.